Guys, this looks like a good video. You wanna know why? Not because it's good, it's gonna be a dumpster fire. This looks absolutely dog shit. Okay, it's what we're gonna watch it, but if it gets bad in Sleeper, we'll sleep it. But if they actually argue and shit like that, it could be good content. Just give it a minute. Give it a chance. Give it a chance, yo. It says, do white people experience racism? And on that, I will not give my take.
The social experiment that brings humans with opposing beliefs or experiences together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation. Remember to seek out experts and to be critical of your own.
Also step forward if you agree
White, biracial, black.
with the
Got it.
prompt. White people also experience racism.
xQc stare.
I think racism is definitely not a one race against the other. It goes all ways. It's not, it doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian, doesn't matter. You could experience racism no matter what color your skin is.
I think that people have a propensity to kind of have an aversion towards what's different from them.
You see?
I've been called a crack.
You see, I think it's guys. People would, you can make very good arguments, I assume, against this because I've heard a bunch of them. Okay, but if you take the scope a little bit off, zoom out a little bit, and do the whole world, right? Various, if not all, cultures experience some sort of higher density of racism in certain areas or certain other countries or whatever. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
I think that people have a propensity to kind of have an aversion towards what's different from them. I've been called a cracker before. I've been told I was going to get beaten up because I was white. I would argue that on a systemic level, white people don't experience racism the same way a lot of other races experience racism. But I would say on an individual level,
In the West, but yeah.
any group is capable of being racist towards another group as well.
So the argument against this position frequently is that racism is a system, not a sentiment in the United States. And I agree with that really strongly, but at the same time I'm Jewish and racially white and have definitely experienced racism, discrimination. The paradox is that most of that racism is coming from white people or European society, white nationalism, etc. That's directed at Jews. So I'm Dane and I'm Jewish.
Wait, what?
I'm proud of being Jewish and being connected to an ancient religion and culture, but I'm not proud to be white, I would say. White privilege, I think, is an aspect of American society. I think it exists. When I go to a job interview, I don't have to worry about my hairstyle or the way I normally speak or my name.
What?
And that's something perhaps a black person would have to worry about.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
Here's a hot take. It depends on how you manifest that energy. You can be proud to be anything. You can be proud to be yourself. I don't think you have to hide your voice, and I feel like you're gonna get canceled. Say that you're proud to be yourself. Like I don't know what the problem with that is.
So I just want to say that I want to validate everyone's
What?
individual
What did I say? What did I say was bad, man?
I do also
What is wrong with you?
that white people experience bias,
What?
prejudice, but the reason I
Man.
did not step forward is because by definition,
Why would they?
racism is tied to power and economics. You talked about
I
systemic
don't know. I said that was bad.
discrimination. I don't feel white people experience racism by definition and by actual concept.
What is the definition of racism and who wrote that
I'm also gonna
definition?
move it.
In
I'll
the
gauge
late
it. I'll gauge it.
1500s, early 1600s,
I'll gauge
there
it.
was slavery. They started bringing over slaves, but there was really no concept of classifying people in terms of race. It's just we're bringing these people over.
Wait, what did you say? I wasn't listening.
What is the definition of racism and who wrote that definition?
In the late 1500s, early 1600s, there was slavery. They started bringing over slaves, but there was really no concept of classifying people in terms of race. It's just we're bringing these people over and they're slaves. What ended up happening is some of the slave owners who were white started mixing with some of the slaves. And now here you have these black people that look like the people that are owning things. So they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. The theory of race
What?
was
Is that
formed to
historically accurate?
classify a group of people who would be lesser than and have less economic power, and this would be imposed against them for hundreds of years. So that has not been the white experience in this country, but it does not invalidate the things that white people experience. It's just not racism by definition. Is it prejudice? Is it bias? Is it wrong? Yes.
Mine is simple. If one person treats another person differently because of the color of their skin, to me, that's racism. I will tell you that I was stopped by the police.
Yeah, I think with the definition that I know of, I tend to agree that if you discriminate based on skin color, regardless of what skin color is, it doesn't matter what it is. If you make discrimination only based on skin color, that's racist. I don't.
Plenty times when I was a young man, and I will also tell you that I then decided to spend 35 years as a policeman. I'll tell you that I stopped lots of kids coming home from school. Depending on who it was that I stopped, the first thing out of their mouth would be, "You only stopped me because I'm black." And I would say, "You're driving a sports car."
Guys, prejudice is an umbrella term that englobes a lot of things. Racism is one of those things. You can't diminish and say that's not racism, that's prejudice. No, that's racism and a prejudice. It's an umbrella term.
This big, I can't see who's driving, and I stopped you because you're doing 95 and a 55. I had no idea who I was pulling over until I stopped you. Now, if I treat you differently because you're black, then I'm a racist. But if I write you the same ticket that I was going to write you before I knew who was behind the wheel, I'm not.
So I'm glad you used that example, and I want to commend you for your service for our country. But I do want to say, because I've actually taught classes for the LAPD and for their cadets about these issues. But what I can say, which is a statistic, and which is also a fact, is that 60% of our prison population is African American.
Different issue.
Yes, but let me finish, please. Is African American males, right? When you go into a system and you are kept in that system and you're cycled through probation and there is a systematic...
I think one of these ladies that I think she misreads the prompts, the questions, and I think she has like bullet points that she had ahead of time, and she's just going through whatever she wanted to say ahead of time with knowing fuck the questions and fuck the arguments.
That's not happening to white males. So it's bigger than just the stop itself. It's the system. My name is Sierra. I'm an actor, a speaker, and a human rights activist. I'm very proud to be African American, to be black. The challenges that come with
that the world is bigger
being
than
black,
the United States.
also being a black
Prejudice and racial ownership has existed like 10,000 years ago.
Very real.
Bro.
I'm at a place in my life where
People actually think the United States is the only country, it's like the earth, man. And if you go out of the United States, you fall off the fucking void and you're gone.
Acknowledging these things are real. Discrimination is real. The systematic oppression of black people is very real. But I will succeed in spite of that.
The police force is foundationally racist.
I want to start off by saying I don't think that every cop out there today is racist.
Same.
I think there are a lot of them who are really doing good work. What I know from the establishment of the policing in the United States, that is directly from the slave catchers who were hired to catch runaway slaves and bring them back home.
Yeah, I agree that all cops aren't racist. I had plenty of interactions with police that were fine, but I was told by a former police officer who was, a cop who decided he didn't want to do that anymore, that, the training is pretty much specialized for only colored people, especially black people, that if you're around them, they're the most dangerous, so you have to act in certain situations or react in certain situations,
I think I just really want to emphasize that I really think that there are some officers who are white that don't
I'm gonna go ahead and say nothing and just watch a video for this one.
Believe that they're doing anything that may be racially motivated because they're simply doing what they were taught to do.
I come from a police family, and I'd like to add they do offer diversity trainings in the academy. So either it needs to be more extensive, or maybe we need to take it a step back and fix the selection process, because that process could be inherently racist.
Well, I just think of it, I think there's massive fucking systematic fucking system of fuck you. I'm just gonna watch the video.
Hello, my name is Nia, and I am black. I'm proud of my race because when I look back historically at what people of my heritage have gone through, and to see where we are now, it's remarkable, and it definitely pushes me to continue to be resilient and innovative as they were.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, there's big systematic racism across the board, across everything. So of course it's going to be also in the police force and in everything. I just feel like it's like across the board.
Historically, people
unfortunately
form groups.
I mean, yeah,
villages.
I think that's
Some people were hunters,
the thing. Yeah, what
some
about
people were farmers, and then you had whoever was going to protect the group. And over hundreds of years, thousands of years, whatever it is, that's how we wind up having cops, firemen, armies, and navies. Community policing as a theory is a good idea. As a practice, it has some hiccups. When I show up at your house because you and your husband got into it and he beats you up and I'm friends with him. So do I want to take him to jail? He's my friend. Or I live in the same neighborhood and I go deal with some guy who's a really bad dude and he says,
let me ask
I know where you live.
She just
I know
said
where
she
your
is
kids
proud
are.
to be black, but if
So,
a white person
to
was
some
to say
degree,
they
we
are
have to
proud
have
be white or put white pride on
a little separation. This is going to get into a hot button topic, but I will tell you that, you know, when I watched the horrible video of George Floyd, I will tell you that I can justify many of the things that happened, but I cannot justify 9 minutes on.
I think the problem what you said is because in practice, a lot of people. I think that's
Ideology
what I think is what I read in
NPCs
chat
with 5
overall
lines, lol.
is that the people who say that and act that way, they have the wrong energy overall. So it ends up having not the message you think it has. It has like another one.
On his neck or back. But what I can also tell you is I, as a policeman, and this is my personal opinion only too, the officer who was on him for 9 minutes, he probably spent too much time in the same neighborhood dealing with the same problems over and over again that he became jaded.
Isn't that what being a police officer is?
Yeah. It's a social service job.
And you're assigned to
this guy
district,
is
to that community.
Okay,
But I think
this guy started pretty decent. Now he's just question marks spamming.
you need to move around so that you get to see other things. You don't become that jaded.
The police, no matter what your race is, you know, we have to be integrated all
This
together
guy
with
is
the community.
kinda-
It doesn't have to be community policing, but
hello?
we all have to understand each other more. I think cultural competency would be very helpful. Like, that's my issue. Whether or not the foundations of the police force was or still was racist, now we can change that, but it starts with cops. Like, at the end of the day, it's the bad police officers that are our issue. Not all police officers, but the bad police officers, we need to vet them out, and the good police officers, we need to, you know, encourage them to be amongst the community.
How do we vet them out?
By making the police union.
No. When something is systematic, that's what they mean is that it's hard to vet them out or whatever, because the problem is systematic. That's the whole point.
It's accountable, because I feel like that demographic of officers, they're actually making things a lot worse for the other officers that are actually just trying to do their job. I think that we need to get
the word
some type.
Systematic is that the structure of it, the whole web is make them stay in place, making them not be punished, not be whatever. That's what that word means.
I don't think the police should be
the system
policing
is rigged.
themselves. So when those cops that aren't upholding their oath, they can be properly removed instead of getting all of these passes.
The bad police officers,
how
I
much you
hate
bid
the
it?
term like
the
the bad apple. It's like, no, you're a
sense to me.
faulty grenade. Like, you're ruining your whole department
Thanks, 65,
reputation.
that's 61.
I feel like I was held up to higher standards working at Whole Foods sometimes. I got 3 chances out, but like Derek had so many.
17 reports before George
17
Floyd.
reports. It's like, get him out of there. What are you guys doing?
Do you think police officers, and I genuinely am curious, do you think they should get paid more?
I think police officers should get paid more. I also think police officers should do less.
dictionary
Why do I get
definition of
sent
racism has a requirement of a race
all of the
that's a
mental health
minority
cases?
and
Why do I
marginalized?
get sent
I agree.
to all of these things? Now, I'll tell you why I get sent to them, is because we'll stop sending the police there.
Here's a
and
crazy
then something
idea.
horrible-
Let's just start by paying the teachers more.
and tragic is going to happen, and they're going to say, why didn't we have a cop there?
Do you think we need to have different divisions like mental health and just other, or maybe even specific police that are just for the schools? Like, do you think that that would help with a lot of the issues?
No. We do have specialized police officers in certain things, but if we keep specializing and we get so compartmentalized that I can't go, I'm right across the street from you when you're screaming for help. Yeah. That's not what I do. Got to go find the guy that deals with screaming women or whatever it is. My name is Jimmy, and I am a retired police officer. I'm not going to tell you that there are no racists on the police department. I don't think blacks were historically treated fairly under the law. I think that we have made great progress, great strides. I think we have to continue to get better, but I also think we probably see racism to this day in places where it maybe isn't.
I sometimes wish I was a different race.
What is this question? Bait? It's a little baity.
I'd say not so much these days, but definitely 100% when I was a kid, I wish I was white. I grew up with my white mom. I didn't see my black side of my family after a certain point. I grew up in a small town. I was often the only student of color, definitely the only black kid. And I had this kinky hair. I couldn't figure out how to work with it. And everybody also would call me an Oreo. It was always just being othered. And so being a kid, you just want to fit in. And for me, I wanted to be white. I just wanted to look like my mom, wanted the nice straight hair. And I just wanted to feel like included.
Yeah, I remember in elementary school, I was thinking, no man is ever gonna like me because I freaking look like.
I was living part of the chat and viewing. I gotta come back later. Proud Latina in New Mexico. This video hurts. Sorry about that. Did I say anything wrong?
And I just remember hating my hair because as soon as puberty hit, it just blew up, and people kept on asking, do you even need a pillow to sleep at night? I'm like, I can't stand these questions. I can't do this. I'm Jordan, and I am biracial. I think being biracial is definitely living in the in-between, because culturally, yes, I grew up white, and I completely know that. I was raised by my white mother, but then there's also a part where race is perceived, and it's what people put on you and how they respond to you in your everyday life.
I wake up in the morning. Oh, nice.
Why are you watching these videos? You give no takes and chat goes to shit there.
Morning watching xQc.
It's so interesting because I grew up in predominantly non-black communities, and for some reason still being the minority at home in the family as well as in school and in the world, I was always so proud to be black. I actually really yearned to be around other black people. So thankfully in college that was an experience where even though we made up a small community, I was still able to, okay, this is like people that look like me.
I was in the
Yeah, chat's been kind of weird today. I've seen some shit in chat. Come on, man. Can you guys clean that shit up or what? Stop being weird?
the military for 6 years. And I was usually the only Jew in my battalion. And I think that isolation produced a sort of pride and understanding of who I am and where I come from. So
I have never wanted to be anything different than what I was, but that's because I really never thought about it. And to your all's point, maybe, I don't know, but maybe people treated you that way because there is this sense of wanting something that I haven't ever had before. I'd love to have a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? It's different than any other car I've ever had. It's different than what I grew up with.
I think personally for me,
fuck?
I was actually adopted by white parents in a very diverse family. I think 6 out of the 8 of us are all adopted, all different races. I kind of have my own story apart from everyone else. And the same for everyone else that was adopted in my family. They have their own story. I always had pride in it, but at the same time, my parents are from out of color.
He's just trolling.
They raised me, and they raised me just not look at it through the lens of race, and that's what I've always done. And I've never wanted to change my race at all. I'm Joshua, and I'm black. I've never experienced racism. I've experienced stuff from people from my own race. I grew up in a white family by white parents. I was constantly called whitewashed. It upset me, but I didn't let it get to me. being black in America, to me, is just being an American in America, just like any other person.
White privilege exists.
I mean, America was founded by white people, for white people at the time. All of the institutions were designed to benefit white people. So, I mean, of course, white privilege lingers into society today. You can't deny that.
Where I would argue with you just a little bit is I think we throw out the term white privilege far too often for things that aren't necessarily white privilege.
I've got to agree with you completely on that one. I think there's generational white privilege for sure, but I think now it's almost used as a reason to not try as hard. If we stop doing that, just really like work for it and not use white privilege as an excuse, then we could really get somewhere as in the black community.
I would respectfully disagree. Like, all of that is true to an extent. Like, I graduated university during the pandemic, the height of it. I went abroad for university. I got 2 degrees. I graduated with honors. Learned to speak 2 languages. I should have been able to get a job.
Let's get anything else. They're talking mostly about fucking personal experience and shit like that, man. Motherfucker, how can I talk about personal experience when I'm white and some experience as a black person, motherfucker?
Right away, right? No, it took me.
Also, anecdotal shit is fucking irrelevant, I think. Most of the time.
9 months before I was able to get a job. Had to go completely outside of my field. But then when I looked at all of my white colleagues who were in my program, all of them were hired immediately.
I need to introduce you to my daughter.
Well, because there's a degree, a lot of things come into play when going for a job. Okay, I just feel like, don't get me wrong about this. Okay, having a degree is very important, especially in certain fields. The degree is the most important thing, but a lot goes into playing getting a job. But there's just so many things that go into landing that job. And if you're not a good fit because of a billion things or whatever, and you say, oh well, it's because of this, and boom, that's it. I feel like you're not going anywhere with that narrative.
She's white. I mean, at all. Took her a long time.
And I'm not saying that. I'm saying just.
She didn't get her job in what her degree is in either.
I respect that, but my point is saying me comparing myself to the white students who were directly in my position, they're successful, I'm not.
This country was founded upon white people coming and then putting in act Jim Crow and other laws saying that if you are not white, you are genetically inferior. You are not even a person. And some of those laws are still, and those systems are still in place today. 2 things can be true. You can have had a very hard time. Privilege is not just limited to white people, but to say white privilege doesn't exist from a historical context, to me, is respectfully absurd.
Something that I learned about recently is the privilege that exists in the medical field, specifically relating to the birthing process in giving epidurals. There was a study that's recently, or was debunked, that said that Black people have a higher tolerance for pain, which then has been falsely used by people who help support births in being hesitant to provide the epidurals for Black women giving birth. A lot of women die in childbirth. I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't know the exact statistics. So
3 times more likely Black women are to die.
Thank you. The fact that I will be taken seriously, more seriously than a Black woman in my place if I should be giving birth at some point, I see that as just an absolute privilege. My name is Bryn and I just graduated and I'm currently gaining hours to becoming a licensed therapist. As a therapist in school, we were taught
These
to...
people are respectfully out of their mind.
I have been fetishized for my race.
You know, the standard one, oh, you're pretty for a Black girl. I'm like, that's not a compliment. That's so weird to say. And like one of the go-to pickup lines for men, they're like, oh my God.
Okay, the video is derailing and so is the chat. Let's just fucking next video. We could go fucking next. This is an absolute shit show. Supreme, insane, fucking platinum, diamond rank, fucking radiant size
affirmative action
dumpster
allows for
fire.
African Americans to get a lower SAT score than everyone.